struggling to make another dollar, struggling to make it across the street and buy yourself an extra 6-inch foot-long Subway with avocado toast on top. And let's talk about solutions as well. So it's not just a video about, oh, this is why you're broke. Let's talk about how to fix something that's broke. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But it's broke, you gotta fix it. You gotta fix it. So let's get right into the first reason out of the top 5 reasons why most millennials are broke and living paycheck to paycheck. Too many people are hoping and not actually planning. You're planning on luck. Most millennials are buying more lotto tickets. There's billions of dollars being spent. I think around 70 billion on lotto tickets per year versus only 10 to 14 billion on investments. Investments are a surefire way to ensure your financial freedom, but lottery tickets is basically like throwing money in the trash. Just think about it, we've all heard it before. When you buy a lotto ticket, you're more likely to be struck by lightning, eaten by a mountain lion, wrestle a bear. But the fact of the matter is, in life, nothing will get done without you. No matter how much your parents care about you, no matter how much you think your friends care about you, when you want to accomplish something, it's up to you and nobody else. You need to take the initiative, and buying lottery tickets every single weekend at the grocery store is basically trashing your money when you could just get that same amount of money and put it into investments and build a long-term portfolio where through compound interest, you will retire at least a millionaire. So for everybody, anybody watching this now, anyone can do this. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you make. If we look back in history, Theodore Johnson worked for the UPS delivering packages, and he never made more than $14,000 in a year. But by the time he retired, he had a net worth of 70 million. He was just diligent and consistent and invested. He didn't waste it on lottery tickets. He made a plan and took action on it. School nor our parents teach us about money. And in the education system, you're taught a formal education. Now, what does a formal education do for you? It's not necessarily bad. It's nice to know everything that you learned in biology, what happened during the war in 1976. But does that help you financially in your own personal life? No, it doesn't. What helps you is self-education. You need to teach these things to yourself because there's no curriculums in school that teach you, hey, come to school, we'll teach you how to be an entrepreneur so you can realize you're wasting your time spending money on this degree. School isn't for everyone, but it's still useful for some people depending on what degree you get. So I'm not saying in total, oh, quit school and be an entrepreneur, everybody be an entrepreneur. Obviously that's not plausible, right? Realistically, some people want to study biology and become a doctor and save people's lives. I think that's a great endeavor, or become a lawyer or an accountant or an engineer. There's nothing wrong with that. So you can't rely on school and your parents to teach you about money. That will give you a formal education, which will land you a high-level corporate slave job. You'll make a lot of money in a corporate world, and if you really want to do that and get taxed at a high bracket and work 80 hours a week, that's great. That's definitely an option to go. But self-education will make you wealthy and rich for generations. And yes, self-education is a lot cheaper than a college education. You go to university, average student loan debt is around $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 if it's a good degree that actually makes decent money, hundreds of thousands if you're a lawyer or a doctor. But to be an entrepreneur, what does it cost you? The startup of the business and maybe $1.50 in late charges at the library. Don't quote me on Good Will Hunting.
You dropped 150 grand on an education you could have got for $1.50 in late charges at the public library.
People, specifically millennials, are not investing because millennials during the time of growing up, that 2008 crash, whenever you hear about the stock market or real estate or investing, you keep hearing, oh, there's a market crash that's coming. Oh, it's dangerous. I lost all my money in the stock market. I lost my home. In 2008, everything went down, and it has instilled a lot of fear. Now, this fear isn't good because for those that want to invest and be financially free, how do you expect to get into the stock market when all you've heard about it is it's horrible, you lose money, it crashes? Of course it crashes. The markets go up and they go down. Bull runs, bear markets, sideways. Right now, we've been in the longest bull market in history. That's a fact. Could a crash happen tomorrow? Yes, it can. Could it not happen for the next 2 years? Definitely can. You can't predict it. But here's what you can do. To not be afraid, you need to get rid of volatility. You need to protect yourself against a crash. How do you do that? I have a whole video about asset allocation where Ray Dalio, billionaire hedge fund manager, uses this all-weather portfolio to protect himself against a crash. During the '08 crash, I think his portfolio went up about 2% while the rest of the market was down 50%. And not only that, if you don't want to use asset allocation and invest in gold and commodities and bonds and do all this complicated stuff, and you just want to buy into the S&P 500 index, then use dollar cost averaging. A lot of people ask me like, hey, I have 10 grand, I have 20 grand, I want to get started investing. What stock do I buy? Well, first of all, don't just buy a stock. Secondly, don't invest all your 10, 20K at once. Use dollar cost averaging. For example, let's say it's $10,000, or let's say it's $6,000. Keep numbers really simple. You have 6 grand in your brokerage. Have automatic investment into a S&P 500 index or a mutual fund that you like with low expense ratios. That's a whole separate video. It'll make this video way too long. And have it withdraw automatically $100 a week. So for example, on one of my Vanguard funds, I have it automatically send like $200 every single week into S&P 500 index fund. So I'm getting the average cost. So to explain dollar cost averaging in really simple layman's terms, a stock costs $200, you have 200 bucks. You can only buy 1 share. The next week it crashes to 100, you still invest 200, you buy 2 shares, you just buy more. Oh, it goes to 300, you just buy 2/3 of a share. Or if it goes to 400, you buy half a share. So you buy less when it's expensive and you buy more when it's cheap, but you always buy the same amount. So over the long run, you dollar cost average, so your average cost isn't super low or super high, you're protecting yourself. Over the long run, over the history of the stock market, what has mattered the most was your time in the market, how long you have been in the market versus your time out of the market. This is a whole separate video too, but essentially you don't want to miss the best days of the market. You want to be in for as long as you can using compound interest and dollar cost averaging to protect against volatility. Hey, what are you guys doing? Come over here. The fourth one is people don't budget their money. In my last video talking about how to save $1,000 fast, I mentioned how important budgeting is. And this is a crucial reason why people are living paycheck to paycheck. Because how do you expect to have money saved if you don't know what's coming in and you don't know what's going out and you're just living YOLO and you're letting the credit cards carry you over? You don't have to pull out your bank statements and write everything down old school on a piece of paper. There's apps out there. There's apps like Personal Capital and Mint, my favorite apps, not sponsored, but you just link all your bank accounts to them, and if there's things you can't link, like maybe a car and what your car's worth, you can manually add it, you can add manual loans, put everything onto those accounts, and then you can look at it maybe once a week, or once every 2 weeks, once a month, at least once a month, and then know where all your expenses are going, budget it so you're not living paycheck to paycheck. And the key is, it's really simple, more income, less expense. Always have more income than expense. And let's get on to the last reason why so many millennials are broke and living paycheck to paycheck. And that is Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, keeping up with the Joneses. Everybody's posting pictures trying to get, oh, look at how many likes I get. Do you know how weird it would have been 50 years ago if I just went up to you, you just try to go up to your friend, print a photo of yourself and say, hey, do you like this photo of me? Hey, check it out. Do you like it? But we do that all the time now because we're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Then you see all these other YouTube channels with, look at my Lambo, I'm pulling up with this nice whip. Look at this mansion. Look at me flexing on my money. For what? To impress people that don't really care about that? To put yourself into debt, to waste money that could be invested and grow into something that takes care of your bloodline for generations upon generations? That's a silly mistake. That's silly. And the most ironic thing about keeping up with the Joneses is not that you're wasting money impressing people that don't care. It's not that you're buying yourself into a bigger hole of debt and making it way harder to reach freedom. It's that it doesn't make you actually happy. Because at the end of the day, who cares? Like, look at this. What's the difference between this and a Honda Civic? What's the difference? This gets you from point A to point B, right? What's the difference between the two besides a statement of saying, look, I have so much money, I could just put it in one car. But in reality, does it really matter? A horse is a horse. A carriage is a carriage. Okay, so enough about the problems. Let's talk about solutions.
The first solution, you gotta walk faster, bro, you gotta walk faster.
So if you're planning to go to school, make sure you do the following. Number one, minimize the cost of your education and maximize the reward. So when choosing what discipline or trade you want to study, calculate the ROI. Just like any other investment you would do, you wouldn't invest money in Apple stock if you didn't believe they were going to go up and return money on your investment. Same thing with your education. So if you're going to college and you don't even know what you're doing and you're studying liberal arts, nothing against liberal arts, but when you calculate the ROI and the debt that you're getting in for that degree and the job, most of the time it doesn't end up that well. So think about what you're doing. General degrees that would do well is like accounting, engineering, or going to medical school and becoming a doctor, or law school for a lawyer. Practical skills that are needed in the job world. But if you're gonna go for just some general degree, you're honestly better off just not even going. When picking what university to go to, I would go to a local one that's within your state. If you're in the United States, go to a state university that you live in, because jobs are more likely to hire local residents, and also tuition costs a lot less when it's in a local university than out of state. And it doesn't really matter what school you go to, unless you're going to Harvard Business School or some high known name medical school. Most of the time, at least 90% of the time, it doesn't matter what school you went to. The employer just cares that you got the degree and have the knowledge and skill to do the job. So go to a local university.
And also go to community college first for 2 years, do the transfer, so you're spending less money up front and you're maximizing your return. It's all about investing as little as possible for the most reward.
So half their education is at a fraction of the cost of a university, because community colleges, any local community college, is a lot cheaper than going to straight university. So make sure you do those two things if you're going to school.
And you also want to be very mobile. You want to have all your things that you can pack, maybe fit it all in like 1 or 2 suitcases, and you're ready to go. Because jobs are in many different areas. Let's say you live in San Diego, but there's a good job in San Fran. You need to be able to pack your stuff, go there tomorrow, and start working and getting that income. It's about mobility now. It's not like how it was for baby boomers, where there was jobs everywhere, and then you could just go to the local job down the street and work there for 40 years at the same place and get your pension. Things are different now. Everything's evolving. 1 to 2 years, people are jumping jobs. And if you want to make the most money, you're probably going to have to end up doing that, jumping from job to job, because asking for a raise does take a lot longer, and it usually results in a lot less. And it's nice seeing you guys. It's nice giving some solutions. Yeah, I think that's it.